When you're 4 years old, you vaguely remember this yellow integrale. Now, as an adult, you're going to know what it's like to be an integrale. How do you feel?
No way.
And it's that last 25% where the car really comes alive, and the last 10%, I don't think there's much that can live with it, to be honest.
Oh, all right, okay, that'll do.
Hi all, Aid from Rev Monkey here. I've bought the first car on my list of 25 cars from my special Rev Monkey Dream Drives list. And here it is, the Lancia Delta HF Integrale Evoluzione. Bosh! Wow, what a fantastic car. Now, I had one of these 21 years ago. Well, I bought one 23 years ago, sold it 2 years later. So 21 years it's taken me to get one of these. It was one of the first cars I put on my list. I genuinely believe it's one of the best cars ever made. And sometimes I think it might be the best car ever made. And hopefully this video will explain why. So what I'm going to do is go over the car inside and out with you. I'm going to talk about the heritage and how we got to an evolution of the car. Talk about its rally wins. Then we're going to do some driving in it. Going to get some good footage. I'll be talking further about the car, the 5 likes, the 5 dislikes, how it makes me feel, how the car feels, some twisty bits which really shows off the prowess of the car, and some external shots. You get to hear the car and see it in anger. So let's go and look around the car. So first of all, the things that stand out in the Integrale are these wheel arches. So you've got the rear blistered wheel arch over here, and you've got the front one here, this little bit of cooling duct there. In fact, as I stand here, I'm not even sure that's actually real. Unfortunately, it's just a bit of plastic, but this is early days before everything was now functional. It's got the cooling vents on the front of the bonnet here. The engine gets particularly hot, so it's vital, and even now, I've been driving it, the heat coming there is quite phenomenal. Looking at the front of the car, you can see that, well, you can't see the intercooler behind it, there's a big intercooler. Goes from there and the radiator right up to here and all across, sucking in the cooling air to feed that turbo. And I always found it in the winter, these cars perform incredibly well because it's cooled down dramatically. I come around to the side over here. You'll see that this car has mud flaps down here. Now, they actually really suit the car, I think, because it is a rally special. But more importantly, they keep all this side of the car clean and avoid it being stone chipped, because as it comes out there with those wide tyres, this is a weak point. So I would recommend anybody getting into Integrale to get mud flaps at the front as quickly as possible. So looking inside the car, the practicality is amazing. You can open the rear doors here, and it's got the tan leather inside, which has hardly been sat on, of course, being in the rear. Not a huge amount of legroom for adults, but they can get in, perhaps with splayed knees either side. Certainly kids are no problem. Interestingly, it's got just winders at the back, non-electric, but yeah, that's a minor thing, who cares about that? So in the front, you can see that it's got Evo 2 seats added retrospectively. It hasn't got the older Recaros, which are nowhere near as nice. These are well sought after, so I'm really glad that the previous owner, or the owner before that, at some point got these seats, completely matching, of course, the leather throughout the car. So looking in the car in more detail, interesting, it's got JBL speakers set up, but it's got no stereo. Not sure what that's about. Right, now one of the main highlights, hopefully you can see it in here okay, is the dial setup. Quite incredible. So you've got some electric indicators here of things that are going wrong or right, and it shows up in here little dots around the car where the area of the issue might be. If the lights go on, the little red lights will come up. Now, so you've got the speedo here, you've got battery power or voltage here. I don't know if batteries are a problem in Integrale. They certainly have to be kept up to date or kept on a trickle charger and something like a Ferrari. But I never had a single problem ever, even I went on holiday for a few weeks with my other Integrale. So I'm assuming it's fine, it's just there anyway. Fuel gauge, that is a bit temperamental. Got to be careful with that one. Turbo boost gauge. It's got 6 more indicators here. Circular lights. You've got oil temperature. And over here, the rev counter, oil pressure. Oh, hold on a second. That's oil pressure. That's oil temperature. So they made a mistake. That's engine temperature. Yeah, that makes more sense. Having the oil there, probably in pole position where you can easily see it. Now in this kind of car, you get a little bit paranoid, making sure these are pointing where they should be, because you can spot an issue before it becomes a proper issue, which is quite good. Interesting, the steering wheel. This is a deep dish wheel from the Lancia 037, which is a fabulous car. One of the few cars that I'd actually sell one of these for, if you get what I mean. But it's kind of deep dish. It's more at you. You feel like you're more on top of it, and the car's much easier to control. I really like it, must admit. Other things it's got, because the car's uprated, which I'll get to, it's got a mapping box here. We can put it between 2 different modes. One's kind of extended power, one's full power. Down here, turbo timer. When you turn the engine off, you can take the key out, lock the car, walk away, and that goes on for 30 seconds, counts down, and then switches the engine off, which protects the life of the turbo. Fantastic idea. Glove box over here, got a few bits in it at the moment, but it's probably a bit dark to see. There's no light. It's not massive, but it does a job. Stuff you'd put up there, but would you? Because it's going to fall off. Same here. 2 small door bins each side. There's the manual gearbox with a genuine carbon surround. Someone's put additional finale plaque on it, which isn't true to form. Not sure why they've put it on there, but then again, why not? And this car has got some edizione finale bits on it, which we'll get to. This particular model that I've bought is a Delta HF integrale evoluzione. They didn't call it one, because like the World War One, it wasn't actually called one, because they didn't realise it was going to be another one. So it's not called the Evo 1, but it's now referred to that to distinguish between this and the Evo 2. So it's got 78,000 miles, and it's a 2-litre turbocharged inline 4, now running at 300 horsepower, as opposed to the 210 for the Evo 1 or 215 for the Evo 2. It's got a simple but very effective and well respected 4-wheel drive system. This particular car was imported from Italy to the UK in 2001. A lot of cars are imported from Japan. A lot of them made it out there, and all the final edition ones did go to Japan. That's the last Evo 2 ever made, and they command serious 6-figure figures. There's one up for sale at the moment for £175,000. As you know from my spreadsheet on my 25 Dream Drives video that everybody's got access to, because I'm going to be transparent, this car cost me £64,500, which I think was an absolute bargain. Hopefully I might make a bit of money, but if not, I'm just happy to have this car for a period of time. Really excited to own it. So the modifications on this car, it's got a hybrid turbocharger, bigger cams, vernier pulleys, high flow air filter, uprated intercooler, uprated radiator and oil cooler and head gasket. It's got a custom full stainless steel exhaust system that goes completely from the manifold to the back box. Now if you look at it here, the usual integrale one, the standard ones, are kind of more that shape. So quite a tight oval shape. So that's a giveaway that this car's been modified in the exhaust area. The car also has this 2-stage boost controller, an uprated fuel pump, and also remarkably Öhlins upgraded suspension, adjustable coilover suspension, really enhances even further the suspension and makes short work of UK B roads, which is fantastic to behold. Also includes a strut brace and the Blitz full auto turbo timer, and uprated brake discs. The most important thing about that is that they don't squeak. How fantastic is that? So these are actually from the edition finale car, the darker wheels rather than the silver. So that's one of the differences on this car. The other difference is, looks the exhaust system, this fuel cap in black, which actually goes really well, I think, fun enough. And it's got this bracket extension, which just lifts this even higher. And one thing I did when I bought it was just put this martini stripe on it. I just wanted to lift it a little bit, not put any other stripes on it, although people put a lot of stripes on these cars and you can get away with it because it's a rally car. But I thought just that one will do, just to lift it slightly. Okay, so let's get into the driving, shall we? Oh, so here I am, 21 years after I sold my Giallo limited edition, one of 220 Integrale Evoluzione 2. So it's good to be back behind the wheel. Now I only bought this Integrale a couple of days ago. Obviously it's part of my dream cars list of 25 cars. And this is the first one, if you don't include the Carrera GT, the 924 version, which is still at the garage, been there for about 6 weeks or so, still being fettled, made into a really cracking road going version. Looking forward to getting that and actually driving it properly. That'd be a cracking video. More on that later. Make sure you check out the link below to the video of the whole 25 cars that I will be buying, doing some content on, and then pretty quickly selling so I can get through the list. I haven't got that much of a pot to deal with. So in some cases I've got to have sold 2 or 3 cars to be able to get one. Other times I might be able to retain 2 cars. There's still a bit of money left over to get one of the cheaper ones. As I say, link down below, and there's a spreadsheet updating all the cars, what I paid, how much it's cost to get them up to road going performance standard, and what I eventually sell them for. So I'll be fully transparent, and hopefully you'll see where I go wrong, where I go right, and where you might want to follow me down the right path and get some of these dream cars yourself. So, Integrale, as soon as I got in it, a big smile on my face. I'll show the moment that my son found out I bought one, because he was 4 when I sold it. He vaguely remembers this amazing yellow car with 4 harness seat belts. Just vaguely, but of course he's seen pictures, and that might have changed that kind of memory somewhat. But when he saw it, he feels generally a bit blown and quite emotional, and it's fantastic for me to be able to share this with him. All right, Jakey, don't start giggling. I've had a long drive back. I'm knackered, but oh my God, what a car, what a car, what a car! Now, my son Jake, car nut, you've met him on the channel. He loves cars, and he doesn't know what I've bought. I've managed to get it home. I told him not to look out the window, didn't really hear it, because it's not an Aventador. I wish you heard the building shake. But I'm sure he's excited now, really. This is kind of a full circle thing. This is, Jake knows how I feel about him. Jake knows how much I love him and I'm proud of him. And he knows how much I love his brothers. You know, they mean the world to me more than anything. And really, this purchase is kind of a bit about Jake, and giving him the flavour of something that he always wanted to taste. And I think actually it might get a bit emotional, because this is the car. It's the car. It's the car. When you're 4 years old, you vaguely remember this yellow Integrale. Now, as an adult, you're going to know what it's like to be an Integrale. How do you feel?
No way. This is the car that's started off for me.
Here it is. Look at that. Happy days?
Yeah.
Flipping hell.
What the hell? No way. Have you actually?
Yeah. That's my boy. I mean, I reckon it's. I've already driven on the motorway, and all you think is reminded me it's the best car ever again. Ever. So I was a bit worried getting into Integrale that 21 years later, of all the cars that I've had, including the Ferrari, there's a really fast modern hatchbacks like the Golf R, RS3, both of them modified. I thought actually the poor Integrale is going to suffer. Need not have worried. Ended up buying a 300 horsepower version, That's 85 horsepower more than Evo 2, even though this is an Evo 1 with Evo 2 accoutrements. And it still feels bloody fast. Of course, what it does, a bit like my Lotus Emira, it takes terrific speed into a bend, goes through it in a godly manner, and then comes out of it fast. So again, it's sort of a momentum car, but of course it's got that lovely boost of turbo. So it takes a while until it spools up, then it kind of goes. So actually, it's incredible fun to drive and very rewarding, because you've got to keep it in those higher revs, to keep it singing, to make the most of the car. And it's that last 25% where the car really comes alive, and the last 10%, I don't think there's much that can live with it, to be honest. I mean, I have a strong belief that I think this is the best car ever made. It sounds really apocalyptic, and perhaps a little touch arrogant on the basis that I'm in one right now that I own, maybe not for long. But a road car, 6 World Rally Champions in a row, homologation special, 4 doors, 4 seats, old school turbo, which is always much more fun, manual gearbox, ridiculously amazing body control and dynamicism. I mean, really, the fact that it won 6 World Rally Championships in a row speaks for itself. It was a feat never done before and never done since. Not even Sebastian Loeb managed it in a Citroen, because that was looking a bit dominating. Let's talk about how this car feels and how it makes me feel. Now, quite honestly, it's the only car I've ever had since the Lotus Emira and the Ferrari 430 where you just look at it, where you're happy to park up, sit on a bench and just stare at it for an hour, or walk around it for an hour and just soak in all different details, the curves, the edges. This car, at first glance, is immediately boxy, and as you go around it, you realise there's not much of a square line. It's mostly all curvaceous around those edges. I think that's what gives it its magical flow. Jesus Christ. What a car. And brake. It's how the car feels that is special. It's one of those things that I think I've mentioned on my 25 list of cars. Italians do something special with a car, and I think it's like pixie dust, or elves working them overnight once the workers have gone home. But somehow you just feel more alive. It feels like, oh, this is how a car's meant to make you feel. If you see a car as a thing of fun, if you see a car as an A to B vehicle with no emotion, then yeah, you get an SUV or get an electric car, and good luck to you. Fantastic cars, great way to get around. But if you want that nth degree, the real specialness, it's not a modern Ferrari or modern Lamborghini even, although they've got a great event in themselves, some fantastic cars. We'll just let this Vauxhall Zafira through, possibly the worst cars we've ever owned as a family. Bloody hate them. We had it because I had 3 boys, so you know, needs must. That pop-off valve. Smidge naughty, but there you go. Just waving to an F12 or an A12. Couldn't tell at that quick glance. No front number plate. That's getting really common and a bit naughty. The fines are low, but I imagine that will change. More and more people are taking the piss. So that feel, you can feel it coming up through the chassis. You can feel it through the steering wheel. You can feel it through the way the car tracks, the way it lifts, the information from the road surface at varying speeds. You can feel it as soon as you turn the wheel. The steering wheel will be heavy to most people, but it's just incredibly weighted, and it feels more alive the more speed you put on it. This car, essentially, doesn't work like a normal car. In fact, it works like a pretty poor car. I'd say up to about 30 miles an hour, especially in traffic. It's incredibly jerky in first and second gear. It really doesn't like it, and therefore I really don't like it. But the more speed and the more effort, more aggression you put into this car, the more reward you actually get. How it makes me feel? It makes me feel like I do in the Emira and the Ferrari, because it's got that rarity. it gets insane attention. Since in the 2 days I've had this, to be fair, I've got 2 shows, it's had as much direct interaction from members of the public as the Ferrari in 1 year and the Emira in 6 months put together. Now, the Ferrari and the Emira get loads of looks, but actual personal interaction, that's people making an effort to come up to the car, look right around it, peek in the window, come and talk to me about it. Oh, hello, this is an amazing car. Oh, this is my boyhood dream car. Oh, integrale, don't see many of these. They want to know about it, what's been done to it. Oh, it's unbelievable, the respect you get having this car. Whether that's like people thinking, my God, you're brave, this must be a nightmare. And it probably is here over a few years, because things will need replacing. What's that? Integrale! What a car, what a thing, honestly. Like the Ferrari, I'm so in love with it. With the Ferrari, I really did fall in love. With the Emira, I just appreciate it as a phenomenal car, but it misses that Italian sauce. This has got that Italian sauce in spades. And even though it doesn't sound like the Ferrari, it has every bit its specialness, and possibly a bit more. You know you're in something even rarer. But if you take emotion out of it, the fact that this car, it doesn't matter what it does, it doesn't matter what its quirks and imperfections are, I'm going to love it like one of my children. If you take that out of it, that emotion, first impressions are, oh, the seats are quite comfy. The steering feels very nice and narrow, easy to grip. Because it's a dish steering, it feels nice in front of you. You feel like you've got real control, you're really on top of it. The view is incredible out, it's not like a Lamborghini. The gears seem a bit wishy-washy compared to modern manuals, but overall not a bad experience. The dials, there's so many of them, it gets a bit complicated. The speedo's rubbish. First of all, it's in kilometres an hour, and secondly, I can't see it anyway. The rev counter goes in the same clockwise direction, but starts from a different point. So you really don't find that intuitive either. As far as I can tell, it hasn't got a clock in the car, but you know, I've got a watch, I can deal without that. As I said, generally your first impressions have been incredibly jerky in a car you won't think you'd want to live with. Then the specialist hits you as you drive it more, and that all kind of pales into insignificance. But interesting anyway. It seems a bit puerile doing 5 things I like and don't like about the Integrale, because it's more than a car, it's a life experience. However, it's like to say the 5 good things and bad things about your kid. Yeah, we all might know what they are in a perfect world, but you're not going to vocalise them. However, I'll try, for your sake. 5 things I like, and I haven't thought about this, is straight off the bat. First of all, the looks. I think as you walk up to it, there's nothing that looks quite like it. It resembles a bit of the Audi Quattro or Audi Sport Quattro. It resembles a bit of the E30 M3 or Evolution, which is great. It invokes the Golf Rally. And there are some modern cars that now try and replicate that bulbous rally-esque aggressive look, such as the GI Yaris, I suppose. But the looks, oh God, you wouldn't think it'd cause that much attention, but everybody says what an incredible looking car. Again, the design got it so right, there's no right to look this good. It's basically based on a box with some curves. That was an Abarth driver waving at me. Exactly the sort of person who's going to know exactly what this is about. Because Abarths I found very special. Bloody hell, where the steering wheel well, the way the steering loads up is incredible. Second thing I like about this car is the way it makes you feel. It makes you feel really special. You're driving something of real importance, real historic importance that people really admire and respect, and it's a great talking point. Leading on to that, the third thing is how the car feels. It's just a pleasure to drive in anger. Absolute pleasure. It's so rewarding. The feedback is incredible. It makes you feel alive. The car feels alive. It's like a symbiotic relationship. and you just don't get it in most other vehicles. Well, the way the steering loads up is incredible. So the fourth thing I like is the dials. Now, for a newbie getting in a car, or someone who's used to modern cars with a tablet or digital interface, it's going to look pretty horrific. But in fact, the dials just really add to the experience of the car, like the wingback seats that Macaro's add to it. It's just all these dials and lights everywhere. You just feel like you're in some sort of really complicated cockpit. It feels like you've got to get involved in the car. And in fact, of course, the dials feed back a lot of information back to you, especially like, well, don't go any further, the engine's about to blow up. But I really love them, and they're unique in the way they look, this kind of yellow on black, very, very unusual. Bit naughty, but wicked. Well, the fifth thing I like is the practicality. I mean, a car that is this performance orientated is such a pleasure to drive. That really rarely comes with the practicality of hatch and seats that an adult can just about get into. So for taking 4 adults and a bit of shopping, or a couple of small cases, you know, that's incredible. I mean, the next one up is probably a 911, but it hasn't got this practicality, nowhere near. And you can't, I don't think you can include RS4, RS3, RS6. They're not, it should be talked about in the same sentence as this car. Not even an RS6. Oh yeah, great. We're in a straight line, we don't even feel the speed so much because it's so flipping anaesthetic. Great car, don't get it wrong, sorry, I'd love one, but no. Okay, that's got the practicality of it. It misses out on 9 of the other 10 things important about a car. Oh, sorry, 8, it's got the speed. Right, 5 things I don't like about this car. It's bloody rattly. You've got to have the, if you take the windows down, you've got to have them in a certain position or they rattle. Generally there's rattles and creaks in the car, and it does get a bit annoying. Now when you're on it, you don't notice it because you're on it, but when you're not on it, adding to the jerkiness of the ride in like first and second gears at slow speed, it's pretty darn annoying, and the B roads of this country are pretty crap, and so it does jiggle around the plastics and the metals. But hey ho, but it does mean you're forever cleaning the car and the windows. Second thing I don't like, I love the effects of the turbo coming in, but having the lag of the turbo initially is not something you like, it's something you dislike, because it can be a little bit annoying. If you're not on it and you need to accelerate past the car, you really have got to drop down and still wait a bit, and then it goes. Now, you see, that's the trade-off between a modern performance linear kind of turbo car or naturally aspirated car and an old school turbo car. And the positive side is that sudden boost, which is incredibly exciting. But generally speaking, turbo lag, it ain't good. Third thing I don't like is the heat, the pure viciousness of the heat generated from that highly tuned engine. It's quite unbelievable. Now in the Amira and the Ferrari, the heat haze coming out the back is quite shocking, like when you're on a hot summer's day on an airport runway. However, there at the back, this engine's in the front, and the heat coming through here is pretty bloody bad, and you've got to have the windows down to kind of survive. So that's a real dislike. And the Evo 1s don't have air conditioning, the Evo 2s did. So, touch annoying, that one. So let's talk about a third thing I do not like about this car. That is the electrics. Not a great shot, being that it's Italian, the electrics are less than perfect. So we've got 2 fully functional windows, which is great news. All the electrics on the dash work, but the fuel gauge is temperamental, and I did run out of petrol and I thought it was quarter full. That's a bit annoying. So the lesson learned is, when it gets to half, fill it up to full. That's one thing. And the sunroof's a bit intermittent. generally kind of always a bit cautious of it, but this car's had a major recent service. Everything was sorted out, all the lights are working, but you're always on guard thinking, oh, electrics, could they go wrong? It's part and parcel with this car. Oh, the last thing I don't like, which is, I love the fact it's got a manual, but I don't like that it's quite wishy-washy. When you put it into third, it's a bit of a stretch. When you put it into fifth gear, which is far to the right, I'm touching the passenger's knee, which is a bit silly. Now, on the Evo 2 I put short shift in there, and I'm going to do the same with this one. Oh, although obviously, due to my 25 cars, I've kind of got to sell it immediately, so to speak, after content, which is going to be a real bind. But if anybody's got integrale who hasn't got a short shift, it transforms how easy it is to change gear. Boom, 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 boom. It makes a huge difference. You haven't got to do the big reaches. So that's a fantastic thing. So I have to say I don't like the way that the reach is excessive on the manual gearbox. So overall, wow, what a car. Surpassed even my expectations of the car 21 years later. Absolute beast of a car, phenomenal. I'm in love, and to sell it is going to be very difficult, but it's something I've got to do in this current plan of mine. So make sure you subscribe, like the content, add a comment. I do actually know quite a bit about integrales because this is now my second one, and obviously I've done a huge amount of research on them, and I obviously made sure I found the right one. So feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below. Keep an eye out for the next cars that I'm buying from my list of 25. Meanwhile, other content coming out on the Lotus Emira, specifically the Luigi exhaust that's getting fitted. But who knows what the next car is going to be? I honestly don't know, but I need to sell a car before I buy the next one. I might even have to sell a couple of the cars to buy the next one. I don't know. Watch this space. Safe driving out there. Take care.